Could an extension be on the way for Matthew Stafford in the next couple of weeks? We're going to break it down here on the Rams Report by Chad Sports, plus a couple of other stories. My name is Jackson Durham. Thank you for joining us as always. And like I said off the top, Matthew Stafford's extension and the reasons why the Rams might want to get one done with him in the next couple of weeks or even sooner than that will be a major topic on today's show, as will a potential backup option for the Rams at the quarterback position. Someone you're probably familiar with, in fact, I know you guys are familiar with him just from being in our division, is set to get released, and he might be an intriguing option for the Rams. We'll talk about him on the back end of today's show, but before we get to all that, I need a little help from you guys. We are closing in on 5,000 subscribers. Wow, 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 wow. You guys have done a fantastic job, an unbelievable job of helping me grow this channel. I am unbelievably appreciative of that. And we are right there. We're right there to 5K, just 155 more people joining our Ramily here on the channel, and we will be a 5,000 subscriber channel. So if you're not already a member, today is a fantastic day to join. If you're checking us out, I know you love the Rams. I know you want more Rams news and rumors in your inbox in what is a huge offseason for this team with 2 first-round draft picks. The first time we've done that since 2013. It's been a long, long time. So make sure you're locked in this offseason. Make sure you have all the Rams news and rumors that you need, and we are your one-stop shop. So let's go ahead and get into today's Rams rumors. Everything starts around the Matthew Stafford extension with our guy Warren McClendon. And I know, right? Like, why? How? Where does Warren McClendon factor into this discussion? We're going to break it down. In fact, actually, we're going to let Tony Pauline break it down. He had a great report for Essentially Sports, and this is what he had to say that kind of sets up everything for us. The Los Angeles Rams continue to express an interest in signing right tackle Warren McClendon Jr. to a contract extension, though it may take a little longer than expected. Sources tell me that the organization has to make a decision on Matthew Stafford, whose contract runs through 2026, like McClendon, before coming up with something firm for their fifth-round pick from the 2023 draft. The Rams need to be careful. If they wait too long, McClendon could cost them a lot more money because his value and appeal to other teams will take off, assuming he has a good season in 2026, because he's coming off a great one in 2025, guys. I think that's a pretty fair thing to assume. Lowest pressure rate, and I think this is one of the most unsung things about this Rams team, is how good Warren McClendon was in fill-in work for Rob Havenstein when he ultimately got injured, and obviously Havenstein has elected to retire to end his NFL career. Lowest pressure rate among all right tackles in the NFL last season. The guy played 10 games, north of 600 pass blocking snaps, and that is where he finished. Less than 3% of his pass blocking snaps in the regular season did he allow a pressure. And that's going to be a huge contract. You look at the highest paid right tackles in the NFL, every single one of them, all 10 of them are over $16 million annually, and you can bet he's not going to be on the lower end of that if he continues to play at this level. This adds to a laundry list of enormous contracts that the Rams have to figure out over the next couple of years, really in the next year for a lot of these guys if you want to keep them around long term. And that, my friends, is where Matthew Stafford factors into this conversation. That's where we circle all the way back around to Matthew Stafford. Because at the end of the day, Stafford's deal will be, for the entire duration of him being on there, unless there's maybe a year where Puka gets over him, the largest on the Rams' entire roster. So you need to know, as the Los Angeles Rams, before you start throwing around money willy-nilly and spending all this cash, how long is he going to be here? How long are you going to have the contract on the books? And remember, there are no more years after 2026 as of right now. I know if you go and you look on Spotrac or Over the Cap and you don't really dive that deep into it, it's going to tell you he's under contract until like 2031. And technically that's the case, but every single one of those years after 2026 is what is known as a void year. And if you're not familiar with that element of NFL contracting, which, hey, no one could blame you for it, it's not exactly the most fun part of the NFL, void years don't actually count. They just exist as ways of spreading out salary and guaranteed bonus cash in restructures for NFL teams to make you a little bit more flexible on that front. So if you want to keep Stafford after 2026, and Stafford wants to continue playing after 2026, that has to be on a new contract, which we know is going to be enormous. Absolutely, absolutely enormous. So the Rams have to get that figured out before they start to address some of the guys who need new deals outside of Warren McClendon, who we'll talk about in a minute. But first, you might have noticed my t-shirt. My t-shirt featuring our guy, Matthew Stafford, the Heart Snatcher shirt. And you might have noticed it's really tiny, but it also says Rams Report on it. That is because it is our first official piece of merch. I am so excited about this. Shout out to our merch team. Shout out to the bosses for taking a bit of a chance on our channel. And I cannot believe the response that we have gotten from you guys. This pre-sale interest form at this link, chatsports.com/heart, has received over 80 submissions. 80 people want to get this. Shout out to you guys, and you will be able to do so extremely soon. All 80 of those people who filled out that pre-sale interest form at that link down below, chatsports.com/heart, are receiving a $5 off coupon on their purchase of the shirt as well. So if you want to be like them, you want to fill out the pre-sale form, you want to get yourself a Heart Snatcher shirt when they are on sale, which will be extremely soon, go to that link below, chatsports.com/heart. It'll be in the pinned comments. You can just click it really easy. You don't even have to type anything in, and you will be able to fill out that form. It's super brief, and you'll get $5 off your Heart Snatcher tee. So make sure you take care of that, and let's get right back into the video with 4 enormous contracts. So speaking of saving money, the Rams are not going to be able to do very much of it with these deals coming down the road. We know Puka Nacua needs a mega contract, and it is going to be, gosh, it's hard to put numbers on it right now. We know it's going to be over $40 million because that's the current top end for receivers, and we know he's going to break that. But at the end of the day, I'm targeting $43 million. I think that's a realistic number to think about because you've got to remember it's not just the current deals you got to worry about with Puka. It's also Jackson Smith and Jigba. He might get his contract before Puka does, and whoever comes second in that race of JSN and Puka is going to want to get more money than the guy who got paid before them. Next up, another huge deal, one that goes under the radar a little bit but could potentially be down the road, is Byron Young. And $30 million, that might be a little conservative, my friends. He might push 35. That could be a massive contract. You're already looking at north of $73 million on just these 2 contracts. And you might have noticed, if you're an astute viewer, 2 spots are empty right here. Let's check out the next one. Kobie Turner at $26 million. We're almost over $100 million already, and we've still got a remaining spot to go, which is for our buddy Steve Avila at $15 million. So you've got 4 contracts that are all going to total up. And remember, Byron is a conservative estimate at north of $110 million. For my mathematicians out there, that's too much. That is too much money to spend on the cap on 4 guys when you already have the kind of deals that we have on the books for a guy like Matthew Stafford, for guys like Kyron Williams. There are already existing high-paid players on this team. You can't keep them all. So I want you to make a decision. It's a tough one. I want you to pick one. If you'd only pick one to re-sign alongside Puka, I left him off this list because I think it's a given. If I included Puka here, every single one of you guys is going to pick Puka. So we're just going to go with the other 3. Byron Young, type BY, Kobie Turner, type KT, Steve Avila, give me an SA. A little love for an offensive guard in the comments. Let me know which one of these 3 guys you would most want to keep alongside Puka. And I'm not saying the Rams will be only able to keep one of them, but I think at least one's got to go, and I want you to let me know who you most want to stick around. If I had to answer this question, I'm probably going with Kobie Turner, KT. In fact, I'm not probably going with Kobie Turner. I am going with Kobie Turner. And if I think about it, who feels like the odd man out of those 3 guys, or 4 guys, really? Byron Young at the end of the day. And I don't think it's particularly close. I've said this before on Twitter. I'll continue to say this. I think Byron Young, and the reality of Byron Young at the end of the day, is he might be a trade candidate. He's an older guy. He's 27 currently. He'll be 28 soon. And I don't say older in terms of like older in even an NFL sense, because obviously it's not like super old, but it's old for a guy coming into their second contract. Usually those guys are closer to 24, 25 years old. So he's a couple of years older than your average guy entering his second-year contract phase, which is another thing you're going to have to factor into his deal. I think at the end of the day, it might make the most sense for the Rams to see what they can get for Byron Young in the trade market over the next couple of months before they put pen to paper on an extension. Now, let's switch gears. Obviously, we spent a lot of time talking about money, talking about contracts, talking about all this stuff. Let's talk about a potential backup option that could be obtained for minimal cap space because one of our divisional rivals has to let him go. A sunset seems to be on the way in Phoenix, Arizona for the career of Kyler Murray, at least as it pertains to being an Arizona Cardinal. Underdog had this report via Rappaport, who said it during a broadcast on NFL Network, I believe, of the Combine. Kyler Murray is likely to be released by the Arizona Cardinals, barring a last-minute trade. And to be honest with you guys, that last-minute trade is not coming. Nobody is going to pony up draft capital for Kyler Murray at this point. And not unrightfully so. If you guys are familiar with me, you know I'm a huge fan of Oklahoma, so it pains me to say this, but Kyler Murray has not been great at the NFL level in a while. It has been a number of years since Kyler Murray looked like a really, really solid quarterback at this level. It's the reality of his career at this point. Injuries have been a big factor for him over a number of seasons. Arizona has been a huge factor for him throughout his career. This team has really never been anything better than just okay in his entire tenure. And I think you could say that his performance in the last couple seasons has been a factor in that. But I think if you look at the history of the Arizona Cardinals as a franchise, and hey, they being our divisional rivals, we're pretty familiar with them, they're kind of the most pathetic in NFL history. And I don't say that lightly. They are the oldest team in the NFL other than the Chicago Bears, and they still have never been to a Super Bowl. They're a sad franchise. They're kind of a pathetic franchise. Two of them have wound up with us in the last, or one of them actually has already wound up with us in the last couple of months. Somebody that was around Kyler Murray during his time there as his head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. He is now the assistant head coach of the Los Angeles Rams in a prominent role on this offense. Could he push for a reunion with his guy, Kyler? At the end of the day, I think it's possible, and I would be all for it if you meet three key components of this deal. Three things that absolutely have to happen with this contract for it to be signed by the Rams, in my opinion. Number one, it must be for veteran minimum and absolutely not a penny more. I'm looking at Russell Wilson's contract with the Steelers in 2024 as your baseline here. That is the type of deal that he should get. He's getting a ton of dead cap money from the Arizona Cardinals. This dude is not hurting for cash, even if he wasn't. He doesn't need money. He needs opportunity. Even if that is an opportunity to start, it's a chance from an NFL team to keep him in the league, to give him more NFL coaching, more time and more runway for his career. At this point, he needs you more than you need him. And that's why the deal has to be for veteran minimum, in my opinion. Number two, the expectations have to be realistic from a fan perspective. We're not going out and getting Kyler Murray to be the next franchise quarterback of this team. That's not the reality of it. At best, he's going to be your bridge quarterback if Matthew Stafford retires before 2027, which we'll get into that in a second here. And at worst, he's a plus backup for 2026 with Stafford in there as your starter. And hopefully we never see him play. That's the reality of it at the end of the day. And number three, the only other reason, or the last component that has to be in place here for it to make sense to sign Kyler Murray is Matthew Stafford has to tell you, I'm done after 2026. And that, I think, is a question of, is he even going to do that to begin with? That might be an unrealistic expectation of the Rams and of Matthew Stafford to have that decision in place before the season begins. But I would like and I would hope, if you're the Los Angeles Rams, that ongoing dialogue with Matthew Stafford about what his future looks like is a huge part of the conversation. Because you should be aware as you can be, of what your quarterback is planning on doing over the next few years. All of this to say, I'm on board. This would be an awesome move. At worst, like I said, you get one of the cheapest and best backup quarterbacks in the NFL for maybe just one season, maybe 2 seasons if you're lucky. At best, he's a bridge quarterback for you. For 2027, while you figure out who's next as the long-term franchise of the Rams, you have a guy who's got a lot of starting experience, a guy who is familiar with your system because he would have just spent 2026 under the offense, under Sean McVay and Cliff Kingsbury, who already knows quite well. All of that spells at least a solid season from him in 2027 with the supporting cast we would be able to put around him. And that is a smooth transition rather than just drafting a rookie in that draft and praying that they're ready to go. However, this feels very unlikely, in my opinion. And there's 4 reasons why. And there are the 4 other teams that want to sign Kyler Murray, in my opinion. The Minnesota Vikings, the New York Jets, the Miami Dolphins, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think any of them will offer him more monetarily than what the Rams can offer him. I think he's getting vet minimum pretty much everywhere he goes. But what all 4 of these teams can offer Kyler Murray, maybe 3 of the 4 of them really, is a real opportunity to start. If Aaron Rodgers comes back in Pittsburgh, that's a different conversation. We still don't know exactly what that's going to look like. But Minnesota has a serious quarterback conversation to have about J.J. McCarthy. That's going to be an open competition this offseason. Who the hell is starting in New York? I don't know, and neither does my producer, who's a huge Jets fan. Shout out to Mike. And Miami, at the end of the day, they've got their own problems, with a release almost guaranteed for Tua Tagovailoa over the next couple weeks, and very little opportunity to spend money on a large-name quarterback because, at the end of the day, a lot of your cap is getting eaten up by that Tua release. So all 3 of these teams at the top, and really all 4 of them, are in the market for a quarterback this offseason, or at least likely to be in the market for a quarterback this offseason, and offer Kyler an opportunity to start and to get his career back on track a little faster than he would be able to in LA. But hey, that's just the likelihood. At the end of the day, there's still a chance that Kyler bets on himself and his opportunity to grow in LA, rather than going with one of these franchises who, historically, outside of Minnesota and Pittsburgh, haven't been super successful, especially over the last couple seasons with New York and Miami really struggling lately. Would he decide that? Would he decide, you know what? Sean McVay's got a great tracker with quarterbacks. I really liked working with Cliff when I was there. LA feels like the best option for me. I can sit behind Matthew Stafford for a year. We can reset rather than just throw myself back into the fire immediately. I think it's a conversation worth having. I think there is a slim but real chance that Kyler Murray ends up being a backup option for this Rams team. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, and that's going to wrap it up for us on today's episode of the Rams Report by Chad Sports. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you if you made it to this point in the video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and as always, let's go Los Angeles Rams.